Okay, here we are ready to move on to the next step. We've got that bag open with steps 7, 8, and 9. The flange bearings are already pre-installed on those. This part's already pre-installed. There's a lot of stuff in here that's already done for you. Just got to make sure you clean off all the screws, and like it says in here in the manual, let's see, this whole thing is already assembled. Flange bearings are on. We're going to put these screws in here into this metal case. The pin is already in here that holds these. I'm going to make sure those are flush against that pulley. And there's also a washer in the bag. I don't see anywhere yet where the washer is actually used. So maybe it's one of those things that if there's play, you actually put the washer in there to fix the play. We'll find out later. I'm going to put this part together and then we'll show you this when it's all done. Okay, here we go on this next part here. We're going to start working on the tail assembly just a little bit more. We've got that part, as we noted, all put together. We're going to put the belt on and slide the belt through the tail. So we'll show you how that looks here. What I did, make sure these ends, the flange bearing, the thicker part where the flange bearing shows, are towards the inside of the tail case. So I put this one on, then slid this through, and then put this one on, and then put the bolts on there. Those are the smaller bolts. Make sure you don't put the long ones on. If they're sticking out here on the end, you put the long ones on there. I put a piece of tape on the end of the belt just to slide it through nice and easy. Slid that through, a piece of cake. Make sure you do it with the holes. These two little holes are towards the back. Those are going to line up here with that guy, and we're going to end up screwing through that. And the name Compass is written on the side, and the C will face towards the front. And when this is upright, this is how it's going to look. So with that, we've got these little plastic pieces and all these other little screws that we're going to use. There's this piece that goes in here between the tail fin and the boom. So we're going to line all those up, use medium thread lock, line these up here, same thing, the plastic on the other side, through this, into the boom, and into this metal piece. So we're going to put that together, and then we'll show you how that looks when it's all done. Okay, here we are now with this part finished up. We've got these longer screws that were in this whole package here with this plastic spacer here in the middle. And along with that, we've got this other plastic part here. There's a flat side and then a side that curves down. So the flat side is towards the bottom. We've got the little stabilizer here for the tail. Pretty simple setup. Still got the belt there. Still got the tape on the end. I might have to run that through something. Just make sure you don't bend that also too much when you push that through. So we're ready to move on to the next step now. Looks like we are using the bag here, step 10. So use that bag, it's for this tail control arm. Long screw looks like it's already in there. These bearings look like they're already in there. This one's already in here, this little plastic flange bearing that goes in there. You're just going to have to take the other screw in there, the larger washer, make sure you go through this ball link end, and then save that small washer, make sure you don't lose that. That's going to go on the other side of this long one, which comes through the top with the extended part of the control arm on the other side of where that goes in. So I'm going to put that together really simple and easy, and then we'll show it to you here after that's all ready to go. Alright, here we go with this guy, this little tail control arm. I've got this little tiny washer here on the bottom, so I'm just going to hold it like that. So if you compare it to how it is in the picture, that's basically how it is right there. We screw in through the top. I made sure I just used my ball links and put that on there first. And there's some divots, and those seem to be pointing up towards the washer. Make sure this is pretty loose, that there's not too much resistance. So mine's moving pretty smooth. Right there. It's not falling under its own weight, but it takes very little to get it to move. Screw through that, blue thread lock, The rest of it's mostly put together. You know, this long screw is going to go through the top, and tiny screw on the bottom, or tiny washer on the bottom. And then there's this larger size washer, and that goes on top of this ball link end. So that's set, easy. Step 11 next, we're going to be putting together these blade grips. It looks like pretty simple. We're just going to be putting these ball links here on the end of it, and we're screwing into plastic so we can use some CA, and just make sure you don't over tighten. You're screwing into plastic. If you over tighten, you're just going to crack it and create problems and points for failure. So just take it easy on there, screw it in, use CA, don't let it gum up the ball link ends, do it carefully, and we'll show you those once those are ready to go. Okay, and here is the finished product of step 11. Pretty simple. I put some CA on, so I put the screw through the ball link first, put some CA on the end, and quickly started screwing it in there. You had to give it a bit of a push and twist, and make sure that basically the screws are going to end up flush with the ball link, and on the other side you can see that they're almost going to end up flush with the end of that plastic there on the end. So don't let any of the screws stick out. You're going to have to give it some good push, quite a bit of torque, but don't overdo it, don't kill it, don't kill these plastic parts. It's hard plastic, it's pretty tough, and these are actually on here really good now. But just don't overdo it. If you overdo it, then you're going to loosen that thread and basically going to have to replace these. So don't overdo that, and make sure you use some CA glue, and that's ready to go. And now we're going to move on to step number 12. Okay, next step here is step 12, 13. Looks like the kit comes with some blades of its own. I wasn't aware of that, or I didn't really look into it, research it enough, but it looks like they've got blades. The edge blades I have are 60mm, which seem quite a bit shorter than these ones. So I'll probably try both, see which one I like, see what works. But these are long and thinner, so might give me some more tail authority. That's pretty cool. So it looks like these bearings right here are going to end up going into these blade grips that we made in the previous step. So all of those are out, not pre-installed like most of the bearings we've seen. Lots of washers in here. Make sure that you're using the correct washers of the correct size and following the manual here. Here's a nice little visual. So, bearings on the inside of both, then the washer, and then the screw. And then we're just screwing into this tail hub here. So pretty simple design, pretty easy. Again, you might have a little bit of axial play here, but it's okay because when it's flying, the force is going to push it out, and there's going to be these screws with the washers and everything to stop it. So we'll get that done, and then we'll move on to step 13, of course, and put the rest of it together. So we'll show you this step when it's done and come right back. Okay, before I put all these together, I'll show you all the little pieces laid out and what we're going to do with them here. So we have this center hub, and we are going to put the main blade grips on that like so, and the smaller screws are going to go through these two bigger washers to go into this and screw in. What I did with these two bearings, put this one in here, put one in here, did that with both of them. I also had a tool that was the right size, so I was able to get in there and push that in through. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort, but you can push that in and get the bearing because it's going to sink into that blade grip just a little bit. Put those on, these screws. Then it looks like once you put that together, these little plastic ends are going to end up going on the inside of these, lining up there. It looks like on the top and the bottom. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky thing probably to line those up and then get the blades in here. And the blades are going to be facing towards the side where the ball link is. So leading edge. So the blades will go in there. See, there's a lot of room, which is where those are going to go. And see how the way it's going to rotate is towards the ball link. So leading edge, make sure you get that correct. These smaller washers are going to go on the top and the bottom of this blade grip, like so, here and here. And then these longer screws are the ones that are going to go through these small guys, through the blade grips, through these spacers, through the blades, and then on the other side you'll have these ball links again. And then you can lock it up with these plastic nylon locking nuts. So we're going to put this whole thing together, and then we'll show you this tail assembly once it's all ready to go. I'm going to move on here to step 14. Really easy, it's pre-assembled in the factory, so you just take this one out, make sure everything's nice and tight, but so far everything's really nice and tight when they say it's pre-assembled in the factory. So that should be good to go, and then we'll put that to the side and move on and see what's next. Okay, now we've put together the tail blade grips. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of play. We went through the washers first, some fairly thick washers for their size. Went through the washers, and then we've got the bearings on both sides of the blade grips. Nice and smooth movement, but yeah, there is going to be some play in here, and that is actually desired. Okay, so we've got this part with the tail shaft. We're going to put this tail pitch slider on there. We're going to put this little mechanical arm here on the bottom with the provided screws for that. We're going to put the blade grips on and hold those solid with the grub screw here. Put these little spacers in here, and might as well put the tail blades on while we're at it with the setup. So we'll show you once this is all finished up. We'll come back and show you the tail setup once it's all finished. Okay, and here's the tail assembly pretty much finished up here. Just some pointers. You want to make sure everything's nice and smooth by the time it's all done. That takes very minimum effort to get this slider to slide. This was actually pretty smooth sliding by itself, just the slider. What I did have to do was these guys right here, use the reamer tool to ream these guys out. Also, you'll notice the 90-degree angle. The open side goes away from where the grips, so the side that lines straight up is the side that goes into the ball link. Just see how that works there, that little L shape on these. So take a good look at that. Make sure you ream those out, not too much. You don't want them to be so loose that you can pop them right out. You should be able to give them some force, but they should be able to move nice and smooth. Mine were a little tight. And also, what I had to ream out a little bit is this thing right here. So this was actually really tight. I had to go in there and use the ball reamer quite a bit, and that it doesn't leave for any slop, that's for sure. But you just want to make sure that you get in there from the same side that you're going to be putting it on the ball link. Make sure you ream it out enough so it's nice and smooth. And this is good to go right here. Everything's looking really good. And of course you're going to want this ball link end to move nice and smooth as well. So this is the nice smooth tail action. Hopefully everything works. Hopefully I don't end up dealing with the tail problems that I've been hearing about online, but it might be just because people didn't ream those out very well. So that is the tail, and we'll move on here to the next step, see how we can get this guy in the frame. Okay, and now on to this next step here. We're going to get this push rod, this carbon fiber push rod, ready to go. So we've got this control arm that we put together earlier for the rudder servo. I also went and took that apart, reamed it out. Now it moves through much more smoothly. It was really tight. This one required quite a bit of reaming, but now it's moving nice and smooth because any mechanical interference is probably going to cause you to have tail issues. Same thing with this one. Make sure that's nice and smooth. What we're going to be doing is driving this tail push rod into this guy and also into this guy that we've put on the control arm for the rudder servo. So we're going to put them in there. It says in the manual, make sure they're 2 millimeters. There's a 2 millimeter gap, so we're going to make sure we get here to 2 millimeters. And they want about that size gap between the end of the push rod carbon fiber section. I'm not sure if that actually is carbon fiber, but between that and the end of the ball link. So once you've got it on there, there's just going to be that 2 millimeter gap right there in between those two. So that should get it about accurate. Of course, that's subject to change once you set up your controller and you get everything lined up. You want to make sure you've got all these 90 degrees set up and ready to go so that your tail gives consistent performance going left and right rudder. So we'll put that together and show you what it looks like when it's all done and ready to go. Alright, and here we are with the tail boom. We've got the tail pitch carbon fiber rod here, 2 millimeters here in between the end of the ball link and the carbon fiber rod. Then we've got these Delrin sleeves. Once we've got those, just push those on, push those forward. Those will be nice and tight. If you want to put some CA, it's up to you, but you might also want some acetone to pull it off if you do use CA. Those seem to stay on pretty well by themselves. Same thing over here, 2 millimeters. I've got my, let's see, so my servo is going to be on the right side of the frame, so the part that's going to clip on should be facing this way. So you're going to want to make sure eventually that when you do get that set up that this is nice and level against the ball link, and same here, that is nice and level against that ball link. Not that it's just making sure that it's not twisted or anything. So we're going to put this Delrin sleeve on that one as well. Push that up, and that's good to go. We've got the tail assembly all ready to put into the main frame. Now what we're going to do is take the belt and line it up. So we're going to make sure it's nice and straight, look down the tube, make sure everything's working right, that when you pull it, that the tail's moving the way it's supposed to. So this is just straight, no twists, no bends or anything. When we put it into the frame, we're going to put it in the frame and then we're going to end up giving it a quarter turn to the left. I know a lot of you guys might be used to turning it to the right. It's not doing that this time. We're turning it counterclockwise, just a quarter turn, and that's it. So make sure it's perfectly level here, there's no twists or turns in it, and that it's doing to the tail what you want, quarter turn to the left. Okay, so we're going to put that in the frame, we'll show you that, and then we'll put the main shaft on the helicopter, and it'll start to come together and look like a real helicopter here.